Boo-boo. Should be live. Let's just check. All right. So should be live for everyone. Still a little sick, but we're doing better. We're gonna get over it for sure. Very little issues going on now. I am mostly recovered. I hope that everyone is having a good night as well. And let's see. I removed the delay as well, so you should be able to. You should be getting like. You should be getting the video within like 3 seconds. I had a longer delay set beforehand when I might use like other platforms, and I decided that since I wasn't using those platforms yet, I might as well just remove the delay so the chat you should hear what I'm saying a lot faster. There. I'll just try and make sure if I have to cough, I also mute as well. I hope that everyone is having a good day. If you are watching this in the playback, I hope you're doing well. And greetings, Shane. Nice to see you as always. I've got a lot that I want to discuss tonight, and I might get kind of fiery about it because I'm going to be honest with you. I heard someone talking today on like a call-in show, like one of the YouTube-style call-in shows, and somebody was called in and said that they doubted the Hollywood Access tape, as in they had not heard the tape. And they were like, I don't know if Trump would have actually have said something like that. And I'm like, you've never listened to the tape? And all they heard was the like grab him by the pussy thing, in which case they were saying that, oh, well, maybe, he part of the tape, he says, when you're rich and famous, they let you do anything and then do that. And this person was trying to defend Trump, saying that he didn't say he did that. He said that he's aware that when you're rich and famous, you can do those things. Thanks. I decided to put on like a little bit of makeup and stuff today. I appreciate it. But I couldn't believe that. And I was like, is this really where we're at? Is like people are going to say like they're not aware of it, and like, why haven't you gone and listened to it? So today, what we're going to do is we are going to listen to the Hollywood Access tape, and we'll just get it in its full context, because I know that there's going to be conservatives that are going to say that, oh, well, there's context for it that would make it right. I'm sure, like, Trump must have meant when you're rich and famous, other people are allowed to do those things. And it's good to see you too, Morgan, as well, as always. And I want to like kick the legs out from underneath this, because like I'm going to make a segment out of this to just kind of talk about Trump's character. I know that his character's bad. I know that we all know that his character's bad. But he recently made a post about the Obamas that was like exceptionally racist. And for years, those of us that were talking about how racist this man is and what an awful human being he is, we've been minimized. Our feelings about it we've been gaslit. People have made excuses for him. Obviously, with the Epstein files like coming out, like more people are now upset with him regarding the Epstein stuff. But he was already like a racist, misogynist piece of garbage well beforehand. And there's just a lot of information that apparently I have and people on the left have that right-wingers just must not be aware of or must not have seen. Because it is very weird that I can bring up the Hollywood Access tapes and they are going to try to run defense for it. And I know like playing stupid is a thing that Republicans do all the time. Not Republicans. The far-right conservatives running defense for Trump. They constantly play dumb about this stuff and try to minimize what Trump has done and the things that he said. Asking if putting black. Oh, 100%. Everyone knows that the racist caricatures about like monkeys and stuff like that. Like, obviously, you should not do those things whatsoever, and it's just unbelievable that there are people that are still going to be trying to make hay for this. But they want to act like he's not a racist and that we're exaggerating stuff, right? I remember being like, hey, this guy sounds kind of racist the moment he was talking about, like, you know, oh, well, Mexico is sending us, you know, they're mostly murderers, they're mostly rapists, I'm assuming some of them are good people, right? I remember when he said that, and I was just like, oh, wow, this guy's like racist. Like, he's racist in like a genuine prejudice type of way. Yeah, selective stupidity. Oh, I know. Like, a lot of people have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea. Right. And there's like an active effort to like sane wash the stuff that he's done. To be like, oh no, he's fine. Like, it's normal for people to have weird cognitive episodes like he does. It's normal for people to say the racist things that he does. And like, at the end of the day, a lot of people are essentially trying to say like they aren't aware of what he's done. So I want to make sure that everyone knows the sorts of things that he's done, the sorts of things like in his past. I could bring up, not trying to rent buildings to black families in the 80s. There's the Central Park 5 kids that were exonerated after they were accused of murder, but Trump had taken out a full-page ad in the New York newspaper calling to have them executed. What's up, heathens, and in-betweethens? Talking about Trump, about to establish like a long line of his behavior. So I want to first just start with the Hollywood Access tape, because I could not believe that someone said that, oh, the grab them by the pussy section of here, he isn't actually talking, he's not confessing anything. He's saying he's just aware that wealthy people are allowed to do this. So let's just look at the entire tape and get it within context. All right. So here's the original video. All right. Here's the woman that was interviewing them, because I'll give you the a little bit behind it. All right. This was an interview that Billy Bush, the man on the left, and Trump right there was doing with Hollywood Access. And while the interviewer was interviewing them, there was a microphone that was left on in the bus that they were riding on. So it ended up being a hot mic. Trump did not know it was a hot mic, and neither did Billy Bush, right? It was just an unintentional thing happened. And I want to say this is back in 2005. Let's listen to the audio.
For this moment when they meet up with their soap star.
She's your girl's hot as in the purple.
Whoa!
Yes.
Whoa! I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet.
All right, so there's Trump saying that he should put in some Tic Tacs because he might just start kissing this interviewer. And he just can't help it. It's like a magnet. He's attracted to them.
I don't even know it. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the...
All right. So the full context of this, since people want to try to downplay this, is he said that he doesn't even wait. He just starts kissing. That's already sexual assault. All right. But then when he says you can do anything, notice what Billy Bush says.
You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Trump says, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do whatever you want. Billy Bush, right here, Bush says, whatever you want, echoing him. Then Trump says, grab them by the pussy.
Grab them by the... I can do anything.
You can do anything. So there's the full context, 100%. There's no mistaking it. There's no like, well, maybe you misinterpreted it. He openly stated that he just sexually assaults women. And then he doesn't even wait. He just grabs them by the pussy. Now, years later, we would know when the E. Jean Carroll case was litigated that he did just that to E. Jean Carroll. He pressed her against a wall and penetrated her digitally. Now, he was found as a civilly liable rapist in that case. So he has been convicted of rape at least once. Now you might say, oh, but Zoe, that's not a criminal case. It's not criminal because of the statute of limitations in New York. And let's be real here. All right, it's still rape. You're still convicted. He still had to pay out the penalties in that case and pay her for defamation, saying that she was lying about it when a jury determined that she was telling the truth. In the same way, there are tons of victims that we know are in the Epstein files, but I also know those are allegations, and allegations aren't proof. But we have proof in the court system. We have proof in his own words, directly observable, just listening to the tape. He just told you he sexually assaults women. Listen to him. So now when it comes to, well, there's all these people making these allegations. Okay, what about the beauty pageants that he had, where numerous underage women said that he would walk in on them changing and he wanted to go and gawk at them? And he would say, oh, well, he would just, you know, as an owner, you're allowed to do that. You can just go in there and some of them are naked and, oh, these are beautiful women. Now, some of them are as young as like 14 or 15 years old, naked, that he's talking about walking in on. And conservatives will often try to make an excuse for this by saying that some of the other people present would say that they didn't see Trump. And because they're saying that, well, they can't confirm that they saw him, then he must not have actually have gone in there. Okay, so once again, let's take Trump at his own words, okay? I'm not going to speculate about this. I don't need to listen to somebody make an accusation. Here's Donald Trump talking on Howard Stern show.
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now, tell me
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, you know, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore
Okay, so he says he goes backstage, he's allowed to go back in, and he just gets away with it.
I'm everything else. And, you know, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. You know, I'm inspecting.
Right,
I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything
doctor.
is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you
They're standing there with no clothes, and he sticks his head in, and he says, oh, is everything okay? One more time.
It's good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
Okay,
And then
so I sort of get away with stuff like that. I accidentally clicked the next video. But, so now we have Trump saying that he directly did do that. That he would walk in there while they're changing. Keep in mind, some of these women as young as 14. So now I don't care if you're going to point to, well, some of the pageant contestants say that they didn't see Trump. Okay, well, we have enough women that did see him in there, and we have him confessing to it on the Howard Stern show, that he, in fact, did do those things. Shane says you really feel like that in Canada, at least in some provinces, not sure if it's federal. They got rid of the statute of limitations for SA. Oh, we should. Yeah, in the United States, this should be the same thing. There should be no statute of limitations if it is for criminal charges for something like that. And we know that one of Trump's spiritual advisors in his first term was like, arrested and convicted on child SA, like P3DO stuff. And that guy was given like 6 months in prison for like serially abusing children. This is who Trump surrounds himself with. It's not just Epstein. It's also John Casablancas. You know, it's also his spiritual advisor. But I want to pull one other clip because he said something else on Howard Stern before. And you can go and watch the Howard Stern interview in full if you want to on your own. I want to highlight one other part of this that I think is worth listening to. I'm going to switch to it real quick. We're going to listen to it and then just discuss a little bit of it. Here's once again on the Howard Stern show. Notice how Trump refers to some of the women here.
For 1 second, before we move on to The Apprentice. So you're going to get married, and this woman has captivated you. I mean, it's not easy because
He's talking about Melania.
Is capturing your heart.
Yeah,
and
it's not easy.
You got a lot of options.
I have a lot of
she must be something really special because you had The pick of everybody.
A friend of mine said to me, I know a guy gets a lot of poontang, not as much as Mr. Trump, but a lot of poontang. And he says to me, I'm getting married. I go, what are you, crazy? He says, every morning I wake up, she's giving me oral. No. I said, then I understand.
Yeah.
She might be the biggest pain in the ass, but I understand.
You know, the National Enquirer, Howard, did a story on me not so long ago that in the history of the world, nobody has gotten more beautiful women than I have, okay? Which is a great compliment.
Yes.
In fact, many years ago, I was on your show, and you were putting all of them up in posters, remember?
Yeah, I had a chart.
How was this one? How was that one?
And by the way, I'm sure I missed thousands.
You missed a lot of
I
them.
did.
Actually, some of the ones on the chart were not victims.
Understood.
But
Did you hear that? What he just let slip casually? Howard Stern is talking about, he apparently at one point in time put up a lineup of the most beautiful women Trump has been with. And Trump, and first of all, misogyny on it aside. He talks about lining them up, and Trump says that you missed a lot of them. So a lot of them aren't up there on the wall that Howard was making. And then Trump refers to them as victims. He said some of them were not victims. Let's listen one more time.
you missed quite a few. How was this one? How was that one?
And by the way, I'm sure I missed thousands.
You missed a lot of
I
them.
did.
Actually, some of the ones on the chart were not victims.
Understood.
But you missed quite a few.
Some of the ones on the chart were not victims, and that's a canned clapping Morgan. I'm pretty sure there's like a laugh track or whatever. It's the Howard Stern show. They're in a studio. I don't know if it's live or not, but it might be just them using a laugh track or something. But at the end of the day, I know that Howard Stern is like a shock jock, right? But Trump referred to them as victims. They're not all victims. So here's Trump once again now calling a lot of the women that he's saying a lot of them weren't there and not all of them were victims. How much more direct does he have to be? How many more times does he have to say, well, they weren't all victims, for you to simply accept the fact that this man has openly talked about assaulting people in the Billy Bush tapes. He's openly talked about on Howard Stern. Well, not all of them were victims. Okay, so then some of the women on the wall were victims. And now with the Epstein files, and we can look back at the context of this, because this is back in 2005, before Epstein was arrested, or the Billy Bush tapes were in 2005. I'd actually have to check the date on when did he do the, it was, when was the Howard Stern interview? Let me pull up the date on that, just to make sure, because that video was really grainy and awful looking too. Let's see. 2006. So this is still before Epstein would have been charged for the first time. And Trump labels a lot of the women as victims. So at the end of the day, I don't want to hear anything. To me, you are either a liar and a Trump apologist, a propagandist, or you have the worst inferences. Like, you cannot follow a chain of inference at all if you cannot connect what's going on here with the things that he said, with so many of his friends and associates all end up being pedophiles. When Trump himself says on the Hollywood Access tape that he just assaults women, he doesn't even wait. Then E. Jean Carroll, a jury listening to her case, weighing it out and determining that, yes, he did absolutely assault her, which is, rape digitally with a finger. Okay. How much more are y'all going to apologize for this guy? Now, a lot of conservatives, we'll get there, say that, it's the economy. That's why they voted for him. And that they don't really care if he's like that bad of a person or whatever. It's the economy. But we're being hyperbolic when we say that he's racist, because we just say that everything is racist. So we would call I can't think of an example of something that they think is not racist. Oh, cultural appropriation or something. Somebody might wear like a feather headdress or whatever for Halloween, and somebody might say, hey, that's kind of racist. And then they would say, oh, well, that's not racist, and y'all are being ridiculous, or y'all being too sensitive. Okay. Let's take what he said about Mexicans and saying that they're all rapists and they're all murderers, and some of them are probably good people. So he's categorizing Mexicans as like rapists and murderers. And then we end up having him not wanting to rent out to black people like apartments and stuff in the 80s. Then when he was running casinos, he was saying that he did not want black people working the floor of the casino. He only wanted them in the back of the casino where they couldn't be seen working at his establishment. And now we just continue following the line here, okay? He was saying that a Mexican judge could not give a fair ruling in a case that was involving him because he's saying that all Mexicans must have like a deranged hatred of him or something. And people will say that, well, you have TDS, like Trump derangement syndrome, for like talking about Trump all the time. The man is the president, arguably like one of the most powerful people in the world, is directly trashing our economy, making all of our lives worse, worsening the lives of all working class people, actively harming minorities, ripping up international trade agreements, and harming people in other countries, continuing to support regimes that are committing like war crimes and atrocities in Gaza. And then also he's a Putin puppet and is supporting Russia as well in their attack on the Ukrainian people. I find it kind of ridiculous at this point to be like, oh, you know, you seem kind of like upset or annoyed at this guy. It's like he's literally ruining everything. It's him and his administration. It's not just him by himself. But I don't know if y'all saw this or not. Let's go to TYT for a second, because Trump posted a racist video of the Obamas over the weekend. I just want to take a look at this, because this actually is something that caught people's eyes for them to actually say something.
Not delete that one, bear in mind. So this video had the caption, President Trump, King of the Jungle, and it featured a lot of other caricatures. So we're gonna bring up some of that so that you can see.
So it starts with the Obamas, and you've got...
Okay. This is the part. There are lots of other politicians depicted as various animals. But I just wanted to show this because I literally could not find screenshots of it. I went back to look at it, and like I'd have to browse through a lot of Twitter to find it. And what do we find here? Trump shared a video depicting Michelle as like a chimpanzee or a gorilla, and Barack as an orangutan. Now, I just want to say, I think every single person that is in America is well aware of the century-old meme of depicting black people as monkeys and why it's inappropriate and fucking racist. And I find it ridiculous that they're going about trying to find some way to apologize for this. And when I say apologize, I mean run apologetics. Trump should actually issue an apology, but he will not. And greetings, Kyle. It's good to see you. Oh yeah, TDS is such a silly thing. What a thought-terminating cliche. 100%. But the thing is, when you say TDS, it's like trans derangement syndrome is much more appropriate. But saying focus on this. So I want to talk about, I'm going to read about an article by Politico. I'm just going to touch on this real quick. Tim Scott, okay? That is a South Carolinian Republican who's in the Senate, okay? Says that it's the most racist thing that he's seen out of the White House, and he thinks that they should apologize for it. Now, before we get into like what happened surrounding it and what the apologetics has been, let's just take note real quick that Tim Scott has been one of Trump's like strongest supporters and most ardent defenders And he just so happens to be the one Senate, okay, the one senator that's a Republican who's black. So whenever Caroline Leavitt came out and said that this is a fake outrage, I don't understand what she means by fake outrage. Tim Scott is an ardent Trump supporter, and for him to come out and say this is really racist, like this is the most racist thing I've seen come out of this, out of this White House, and then you have other senators telling them that they should pull that down, and then for Caroline Leavitt to come out and say, oh, it's fake outrage. First of all, I think people are rightly very angry about this. Genuinely. Like, you're talking about something that has been so hurtful to a community that has been targeted over and over and over and depicting them as animals. And Trump continuously goes on to call it Jasmine Crockett low IQ and constantly talking about black women being low IQ. And there's also the stink that he made when he was being investigated, or not investigated, when he was having an interview done with the Atlanta journalists that were like 4 black women talking to him. He was insensitive there too. This man is just a racist. Now let's talk about what the White House said. So Caroline Leavitt said, oh, it's fake outrage. It's just a video of the Lion King. And first of all, that just makes no sense. Why would it being the Lion King make it any more acceptable? That's just dumb as hell. That'd be like if you did the exact same thing and you're like, oh, guys, calm down. It's just Zootopia, right? He just put like black people on monkey bodies in Zootopia. Why are you so angry? It would be just as ridiculous to say that. It's like transparent what he was doing. And the most pathetic defense that they ran afterward was that, well, it wasn't Trump, okay? It was actually an intern that posted it. And it was an intern that did it. Okay, so now we are to believe that an intern has access to Trump's Truth Social account and his like X account and everything else. Keep in mind, Trump has routinely tweeted out directions for senators, directions for the Department of Defense and other institutions. He has stated policy that he wanted changed on social media, and then that becomes policy, or that becomes an executive order. So to say that an intern, that's what, in college or something, has access to this, Trump has declared whether he's going to levy tariffs against other countries through Truth Social. He's negotiated as president with other leaders via social media, threatening them and everything else. So are we to believe now that interns that we didn't vote for are actually running this account? They're actually issuing threats to heads of other state. They're threatening our trade agreements. It's an intern. Trump doesn't have control over his own account. Is he that mentally gone that he can't use social media anymore? The implications, if that is true, are dire for all of us, that interns that are not the president can just issue public statements about our policy or threatening trade agreement or whatever else. So, in the end, the story that they seem to have settled on now is that Trump did post the video, but he didn't watch the full thing. You know, it's a long video. The Obamas are only in there in one part of it, and he didn't actually watch the whole thing. The video's a couple minutes long, and the Obamas are in there like right toward the beginning. So Trump just takes the videos, doesn't watch them, and just shares them. I find that very weird. And it's just strangely consistent that he's always publishing right-wing extreme content, and he doesn't accidentally ever share any pro-Democrat stuff. He doesn't ever share any videos that are like anti-Trump by accident. If he doesn't actually look at the videos that he's sharing, he just shares them. And what does that also say about Trump's cognitive state? You mean I'm supposed to believe that this guy's a very stable genius when he just grabs videos and shares them without even reading them or looking at them? It's like 100% just toxic all the way down, no matter how you look at it. Sorry, I'm still having to cough. I'm trying to be better about like actually getting to the mute button before I start coughing. Yeah, it's absolute garbage. And the fact that people are still trying to run apologetics about this as if like we all don't know that depicting black people as like monkeys or apes or whatever has been a racist dog whistle. Like, and not even a dog whistle. It's like blaringly racist, and it has been for like over a century. Just ridiculous. But people will continue to defend Trump, saying that, well, they voted with their wallet and they voted for the economy. And, you know, they voted to make sure that the economy was good and all that sort of stuff. Well, let's just take a look at the economy and what Americans kind of think about the economy to find out, like, if they are right about Trump. Maybe I'm suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and I just think Trump bad all the time. And that maybe the economy is doing well. And it's just me that's the problem, right? Maybe they're right about this. So let's just look at some economic numbers. And then we'll look at other economic indicators and find out what is going on. Yeah, it's the Southern blunder, Morgan, 100%. This is that is the Southern strategy, like with its mask off, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if this dude is literally posting pictures like with his arm around a Klansman by the end of all of this. But let's put aside his character for a second. Maybe his character doesn't matter, and maybe I have TDS. And that's they're going to say it's Trump derangement syndrome. We all know that TDS is trans derangement syndrome, something all these conservatives, these little brainlets, it's what they have. But let's take a look at the economy and just see what happens, okay? Because maybe they're right. So I know that y'all don't really like reading articles and stuff like that. So I'm just going to browse through here, and then we're going to go over some other stats. We just have to do some reading for a minute, because otherwise I'm just going to play clips about the economy. I just want to show some of this, okay? I believe in evolution and believe that we are all monkeys, meaning it can't be racist to compare humans to apes. Yeah, sarcasm. That better be fucking sarcasm. Yeah. We all are primates, that's true. But obviously there's cultural and historical context around the way that white people have abused black people and people of color. Moving aside. All right, so in 386 days into Donald Trump's term, GDP grew at 4.3 in the year, and then inflation at 3%. The unemployment rate is 4.4. S&P 500 is up to 14.6 since he took the office. So let's just read a few quotes here. So a month-long government shutdown paused nearly all official data releases, leaving policymakers driving in the fog, as Jerome Powell, chair of the Federal Reserve, put it. America's economy is still growing. Output expanded strongly in the third quarter, driven by consumer and government spending, yet other indicators point to mounting strain. Inflation, which has been driving toward the Federal Reserve's target, is moving higher again as firms pass tariff costs on to consumers. Meanwhile, the consumer confidence has fallen sharply and the labor market is cooling. So this is the stock market. Who cares? The stock market is not a sign of economic health. Just for the, like, I always hear conservatives saying, oh, I vote with my wallet. And I look at the stock market. Most Americans are not well invested in the stock market. You are a liar if you say that the stock market is a sign of good economic health. And anyone who is telling you this is trying to prey on you. They are probably someone wealthy who has a lot of investments. They are not working class. They are not like you, and they are not like the rest of us. Do not let them deceive you on the stock market, okay? Just put the stock market down. It is not a shield for right-wing politics. The stock market tends to just do pretty well overall. Except for, you know, when Trump announced some stupid shit. Like Liberation Day. All right, he announced the tariffs on April 2nd. Since then, a partial rollback of those levies alongside AI-related exuberance has sent the share prices soaring once again. So the more the stock market is going up with AI, it is growing an AI bubble. And when that AI bubble crashes, like when it pops, a lot of people are going to lose everything. Let's look at the exchange rates. This is how much the dollar trade weighted exchange, okay? So the greenback, which is the American dollar, has plummeted since its peak before Mr. Trump's inauguration last year. Investors worry about the drag of tariffs on growth, rising government debt, and Trump's attacks on the Federal Reserve's independence and the broader erosion of institutional norms. Even so, the currency is not weak by historical standards. On a real basis, adjusting for inflation differences, the dollar remains elevated. But look at the exchanges here. Biden was doing great. Oh my God, look at Biden's numbers. Dark Brandon up there. Then we got Obama in his second term, like just still crushing it. What a great president. What a great leader. Then look at Trump. Trump is so far down here, once again, diaper Don all the way at the bottom. He can't beat Obama and he couldn't beat Biden. It's so weird that we always hear that conservatives are better for the economy. And yet right here, the dollar was stronger under Biden and Obama. Let's look at bond yields. This is during the COVID market. Bond yields went up. It's going to be because people were investing in bonds during COVID. Cryptocurrencies falling off a cliff during Trump, plummeting straight down. Inflation, the peak right here is COVID once again. But people say, oh, well, inflation was so high under Biden. That's true. And we did have a global catastrophe and COVID. But look, halfway into Biden's term, inflation plummeted because the United States was the fastest country in the world to recover from the economic catastrophe of COVID. The inflation rate came down faster here than anywhere else. And it's thanks to Biden and Biden's policies. And Biden pulls it back down. Then Trump gets into office. And look at the number just steadily going up since Trump got into office. And you know what the real problem here is? Is that because there was a government shutdown right here between October 1st and November 12th, disrupted data collection is muddying the picture. So you see this number going up with inflation. We don't know what that number actually really is right now because we don't have data from that time because of a government shutdown. Consumer sentiment. So how do people feel about the economy? How do you feel mostly, about your wallet on a day-to-day basis? That's most Americans. Plummeting. All right. GDP wrecking. Just absolutely wrecking. Now, someone might say that, oh, well, overall, it's kind of difficult to tell just looking at charts. Like charts don't really just kind of give you the full picture of the economy. And maybe, there's something else we could look at. Okay, you're right. A chart by itself, or just a couple of charts, don't really seem to tell the full story. Well, lucky for us and those who are curious about the economy, the Kiel Institute has went ahead and done some research on the tariffs and who's paying the tariffs, okay? So notice what the title is here. Americans pay almost entirely for Trump's tariffs. Contrary to U.S. government rhetoric, the cost of U.S. import tariffs are not borne by foreign exporters. Instead, they hit the American economy itself. Importers and consumers in the U.S. bear 96% of the tariff burden, according to a new research from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. So this is just some of it, okay? So they've analyzed more than 25 million shipment records covering a total value of almost $4 trillion in U.S. imports. The findings are clear. U.S. customs revenue increased by approximately $200 billion in U.S. dollars in 2025. Foreign exporters absorbed only about 4% of the tariff burden. 96% passed through to U.S. buyers. U.S. buyers, that's you and me, okay? That is working class people. We are the ones paying for these taxes. You have extra taxes on you. It's Trump's tariff tax that you are paying for every time you go to the grocery store. So we also have falling import volumes. So it also examines the unexpected tariff hikes imposed on Brazil and India in August of 2025. Tariffs on Brazilian imports were suddenly raised to 50%, and for India from 25 to 50. Again, the data show that foreign exporters did not lower their prices to offset the additional tariffs. Had exporters absorbed the tariffs, their U.S. prices would have fallen relative to other markets, but this was not the case. We compared Indian exports to the U.S. with shipments to Europe and Canada and identified a clear pattern, Hines explained. Both export value and volume to the U.S. dropped sharply by up to 24%, but unit prices, the prices Indian exporters charged, remained unchanged. They shipped less, not cheaper. So that's the overview. This is the actual study itself that you can go and pull up yourself, and you can get this little handy dandy PDF and you can look at all the stuff that they did. But here's some other parts of the overview of it, okay? So we already know that we pay 96%, okay? Let's continue on down. Indian export customs data validates our findings. When facing U.S. tariffs, Indian exporters maintained their prices and reduced shipments. They did not eat the tariff. And you can just go and look through all of this stuff. Our research shows the opposite. American importers and consumers bear nearly all the cost of those tariffs. All right? They're in China. Some tariff rates at some point exceeded 100%. Now, I know people that work in shipping overseas, and they can rant and rant and rant about how they have to put all the tariffs and stuff through the system when they're dealing with imports and how much the goods are costing bringing them in. We are paying for these tariffs 100%. And you just go and check out their data and methodology, their empirical specification, the main results, near complete pass-through. All right? So this implies that foreign exporters absorb less than 4% of the tariff burden, and the remaining 96% pass on to us. All right? You can look at the Brazilian Indian cases, and you can check that out yourself. We are the ones paying for the tariffs. So whenever you hear people saying, well, there's so much, competing data, we're not really sure who's paying for it or whatever else. The cost is going to you, and the cost is going to me, to Americans. We are the ones paying for these damn tariffs. And all it's doing is harming trade with other countries. So we're getting less goods from other countries. There's less available goods to us, and we are paying the same price for them as we did before. And if you think that Trump's economic policy, maybe the tariffs aren't, maybe the tariff isn't, enough to make you think like, this guy is just an idiot, okay? Let's take a look at this article real quick, all right? And if you're Canadian, this might impact you. So Trump threatens to block the Detroit Canadian Bridge in new trade row. All right. This is just literally posted today. So Trump said that he would start negotiations with Canada over a bridge project to connect Michigan and Ontario, threatening to block its opening until the U.S. was given adequate compensation and owned half of this asset. He says, I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we've given them. And also importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect that we deserve, whatever that means. We will start negotiations immediately with all that we have given them. We should own perhaps at least one half of this asset. The president included a picture of the Gordie Howe International Bridge project connecting Detroit to Windsor in the Post. The bridge, which is expected to open to traffic soon pending formal test and approval, is being financed by the Canadian federal government with the expectations the cost will be paid for by bridge tolls. The Government of Canada, Bridge Authority, the Ontario Premier's Office, and Michigan Governor's Office did not immediately respond for a request for comment. So his comments are the latest broadside against Canada as the president ratchets up tensions with a major trading partner, Trump has recently threatened to hit Canadian goods with a 100% tariff if the country made a trade deal with China, and has expressed annoyance at the remarks of the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at Davos that ordered an implicit denunciation of the U.S. president's foreign and economic policies. Last month, he also threatened to impose a 50% tariff on aircraft from China and decertify new planes made from there. So let's be clear what he's doing here. He's literally threatening China or Canada with a 100% tariff if they make a trade agreement with China. At what point does it become like absurd that this guy is a narcissist when he thinks that he can determine as the US president what the president or prime minister of another country does in trade agreements with other nations? He's willing to threaten Canada with a 100% tariff, and yet he's soft on Russia. He's soft on Israel, despite what's going on over there. And yet he can threaten our Canadian neighbors and our friends and some of our loved ones and family with a 100% tariff to try and like make their lives worse because he's mad that they're going to make a trade agreement with Canada. This man is a joke. He has no understanding of economics whatsoever. And this is exactly why, like, you cannot treat a country and a country's economic plans as if they were a business. They're not the same thing. They don't operate remotely the same thing. And the damage that he's doing to our international relationships in trade and with our agreements with other countries is going to be felt in our country for decades. Like, a lot of the trade agreements that we had are not going to just be renegotiated once he's out of office. Even if we put someone in office, replace Trump and his administration, a lot of these countries are already breaking away from us and going their own ways. They are not going to come back just because we're like, hey, we voted a president that is less wild than Trump is, so you should come back and renegotiate with us. A lot of them are just not going to. They are getting their own trading partners. You see Canada and China becoming closer, and Godspeed to them. I hope they have a lot of mutual success in their relationships, because I feel like, people deserve justice. And if they are making good trade agreements and they're being good allies, then they should be benefited for that. And if they are being bad allies, like our country is, then, find out. I hate that everything is becoming more expensive. I hate going to the grocery store and paying like $200 for a cart of groceries that would have cost me $100 when Joe Biden was president. But I'm stressing this much because the main argument from the other side is that, well, Trump and his administration is better for my wallet. When all they're doing is looking at the stock market. They're like, well, the stock market number go up, therefore everything good. Market up, good. That's their understanding of economics. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, you can't go and just look at the real price of groceries. And, oh yeah, let's touch on the price of gas real quick. Because every time this comes up, like, well, the price of gasoline, okay? The price of gasoline by itself does not tell you how the entire economy is doing, first of all. And second of all, Trump has been lying about that too. He's been saying that gas is down to $1.99 a gallon all over the country. No, it's not. Nowhere in the country was gas $1.99. Like, he's just lying about this. Then he got mad saying that, oh, he was angry that when Democrats were talking about there being an affordability crisis in this country, he's mad that he can't just go out there and call it a hoax. That he just can't say it's a hoax because, well, everyone can just go to the grocery store and see it's true. Everyone can see that the housing market is terrible right now. Like, most Americans are not going to be able to afford houses. They're going to have to rent. And maybe never be able to afford a home at the rate that it's going. Most Americans don't even have a couple $1,000s in savings. Not even a couple thousand. So if you have a major car malfunction, how are you going to pay for that? All right? If a national disaster happens, right? If you end up having a hurricane or tornado, I know I said national, natural disaster happens, and your area gets decimated by a tornado or hurricane, and they don't want to authorize FEMA, like, to help you out. How are you going to pay for that? Yeah, international oil trade currency. Yeah, then you'll see a massive crash in the value of the dollar. Unlike other crashes, it's going to largely not hurt other nations, though. Oh, 100%. And you also see other nations, like the BRICS countries, are moving in order to get off the dollar. And 100%, like, I've already been seeing the signs of a weakening dollar coming. And like you could see on that chart, like it's well, if you look historically, the dollar is still doing okay. It's still positive, but that number was that the line was trending down. And if you notice the other stuff with Trump's policies, the line would like trend down, down, down. Then all of a sudden there'd be like a point where it just drops. That might happen with the strength of the US dollar at some point. If these BRICS countries get together and form their own currency, or if more nations start using like a digital currency, then eventually the dollar might just crash. Yeah, I know. I can tell you, I have so many family members and stuff that if the dollar crashes, it would be catastrophic. They would not recover their retirement at all. And they would go into like old age and poverty. And I feel really bad that might happen, right? I have like class solidarity with working class people. I think if you break your back your entire life and you go and you work at a factory, or you go and you work as a teacher or on an ambulance or whatever, you should be able to retire working your entire life in the system. But I get called a socialist for thinking that we should have ways to take care of people. And they're like, well, if you just invest in the stock market and you're smart about it, and now we're going to see that, there's the very real possibility that, dollar crashes and these people lose everything, especially the older crowd. I hope that they're paying attention to it. So I did the reading part. I know that y'all don't like me reading stuff, but let's go now and we'll watch a little bit of Harry Enten, because I like, God, did I call him Harry Enten? Henry Enten. No, it's Harry. I don't know why I'm messing up names today. So let's watch a couple of clips from him. I like his stuff and I find him like pretty entertaining. And now this is him on the economy.
Staggering. The economy used to be the wind beneath Donald Trump's presidency wings, and now it's his Titanic. Because what are we talking about here? Well, let's just take a look here. Trump's economic net approval 1 year in. In term one, hey, yeah, plus side of ledger, plus 8 points. It was his best issue, arguably. But now it's one of his worst. Look at that. Way, way down in the basement, 18 points below water. What is that, John? Quickly, some math. What is that, a 26-point switcheroo in the wrong direction? This is the type of number that Democratic midterm dreams are made of and Republican nightmares are also made of.
So by and large, are voters saying it's Trump's fault?
Yeah, this is the key answer, right? Which is why? What is driving these numbers? And it is because the folks believe, the voters believe, it's the Trump administration.
So Shane says, normally when a nation's currency crashes, then you get an influx of tourists and exporting, because other nations' money is so much stronger that it becomes more attractive to do business with you. Oh, 100%. It's going to be, okay. If things continue how they are, then there's going to be a lot of pain for the average American in the next few years. I just hope that they realize what's going on before it is too late, and we can use, the Senate and the House to cut Trump's nonsense out completely, remove these tariffs, stop this bizarre trading war that he has going on. But I doubt it. Hopefully in the midterms, we'll just remove this party from office entirely and replace the, House and Senate with people that can actually stop this. Because otherwise, it's going to be catastrophic.
Fault. Take a look here. Okay, the Trump admin has made the economy worse or better. You go back to January of 2018, term number 1. The plurality winner there was better at 40%. Just 22% said worse. Look at this side of the screen. The exact opposite story. What a switcheroo. My goodness gracious. 52%. 52% of Americans say that Trump admin, their policies have made the economy worse. And look at that. Just 28% say better. Even among the GOP, just 50%.
Right. And what I tell you, I guarantee you that 28% are people that are like heavily invested in the stock market, or they are only looking at the stock market as like, are things actually good right now? Because they're looking at the stock market as part like tied to their retirement. And they're like, oh, the stock market seems to be doing good, so we must be doing good. That 52% number is from people that like actually recognize what's going on. And they recognize that when I go to the grocery store, everything is expensive. When you go out to eat, it is incredibly expensive. There was just there's just audio leaked from Chipotle, right? It was like the Chipotle CEO talking about, well, they're just going to keep raising their prices because people are still buying their food. So they're going to keep raising prices. They'll keep paying for it. Stuff like that. We've got to hold these people accountable. I hope that people like boycott over that, because, you know, there's repercussions for saying stuff like that. And if you are just arbitrarily raising prices, I hope that bites you in the ass.
57% say they make it better. When you're only getting 57% of the Republican base to agree with the positive position for Donald Trump, you know you are in some massive trouble, which the Trump administration and Trump in particular are on the economy
And just
right
to remind people, everyone says the economy is the #1 issue, and they say the president's not helping.
Correct. This more than anything else, it is what is driving Donald Trump's approval rating overall down. It is the economy. It's the #1 issue, and the American people believe that Donald Trump is failing on the key #1 issue.
Yeah, because we recognize what's going on, because we're hurt when we go to the grocery store, because we see these stupid tariff decisions. We see him threatening our trade partners. We see him threatening our allies. We see him trying to tell Canada who they can and cannot trade with. And we know who's paying those tariffs.
You said 57% of Republicans only say he's self. But what about independents? What are they saying?
Okay, this is what is driving it, right? Because you'll notice some days I'll say, hey, Donald Trump is doing really well amongst his base, and then other days they say he's doing really poorly overall. What is driving it is independents. And this was a number that absolutely blew my mind. Oh, my goodness gracious. Trump's economic net approval 1 year in among independents. In term 1, he was 10 points above water. Look at where he is today. Whoa, 43 points below water. That's a 53-point switcheroo.
Fox? No, this is CNN. So I just find it very, very hilarious, because I remember when people like Pine Creek were like, I'm going to push people to vote for Trump. I'm going to push people to vote for Trump. Well, if you were one of the people that got duped by a dumbass and a dipshit like Pine Creek, this is what you get. All right. Hopefully you realized what happened, because now we're at a 53 point swing the other direction, that independents are very largely recognizing the economy sucks under Trump. 100%. Like, if you got duped by people that ran conservative apologetics, then I'm sorry, okay? But do better and vote them out. Do not ever be fooled by these people again. Unless they come to you with working class policies, unless they come to you talking about unions, unless they come to you talking about socialist policies, do not believe that they have your best interest in mind. They don't. If they are a rich man in a suit with a cigar, do not trust him. It's so obvious. Like, I feel like I was growing up and watching all of the, all these movies and stuff, and the wealthy business guy with the suit and his face would be kind of shadowed and he'd be like cigar smoking man. That was always presented as like, he's the villain, and it's obvious that he's the villain to everyone. And then like, whenever I went and got a job, and I've worked in so many different industries, I always knew, and when I would talk to my coworkers, a lot of them would know that the guys in charge at the top largely were out of touch and didn't know what it was like to actually work in a damn factory. then we get older, and all of a sudden, all these working class conservative people are bootlicking like the polished, Berluti shoes of these corporate executives. Someone like Trump that's never had to like work a hard day in his life. Even the McDonald's thing was a stunt. Obviously. But they fall for it. It's like, oh, Trump's just like me. He's working at McDonald's. No, he's not. I'm sorry. When you go to work at McDonald's, do you have a film crew following you around, filming everything? Secret Service? Everyone's there to like wipe your butt or help you out with the job, or to like walk you through every single step and go, oh, you did such a good job. You put together that burger and you handed it to somebody. You did such a good job. No. You're expected to show up, do your job, and if you're like 1 minute late, you get written up and your livelihood gets threatened. What are you talking about? At real jobs, you can't just come in there with an entire entourage and you're not like cheered as you work as slow as a tortoise doing everything. You have to have high productivity, high pressure, and you are breaking your back with labor. It's ridiculous. But let's move on to this next clip. So that was the economy. Trump has just trashed the economy. Let's look now at once again, Harry Enton is going to talk about what we discussed toward the beginning of the show, right? That Trump is a racist piece of garbage, and that more and more people are waking up to it. But now with ICE, and I saw that, Morgan, wrestling events, yeah, at AEW, fans were chanting "fuck ICE." It was just unbelievable to me that literally, when it comes to wrestling crowds, which are notoriously conservative, it's professional wrestling. That at a professional wrestling event, you had the entire crowd chanting "fuck ICE." Conservatives, working class people. 100%. Shane says the worst part is that Dems lost to this guy. How bad do you have to be to lose to this clown? Well, okay. I want to start by saying, like, I agree with you that it is embarrassing that they managed to lose to him. And they had, like, bad messaging, and their messaging was like, well, everything is like recovering and everything is getting better. Even if it's slow, you should support us. But let's remember for a second, it wasn't just Trump that they lost to. It's billionaires like Elon Musk that was pushing Trump apologetics all across X. It's J.K. Rowling investing her billions of dollars to launder the people that surround him and their reputation, pushing their rhetoric, the anti-trans hysteria that they've stirred up in our society as a culture war. You've got people like Rowling pushing it. You have people like Musk pushing it and trying to help prop this up. You had Peter Thiel. You had Zuckerberg. You had all these billionaires trying to interfere in our election and spend money on ads for him and push and push and push. And then you end up having, Steve Bannon, Sloppy Steve, and all of his connections endlessly cranking out propaganda. And then places like, 4chan and these like little internet shitholes where you had the worst people, also some of the dumbest people imaginable, congregated into one area. And they are essentially, inspired by Epstein into this culture war stuff to push this nonsense like 24/7. And I've seen people come in to like, debate servers that I was part of, or just in like some Discords where they showed up and they were like middle-class working people from Canada convinced that the kitty litter story and furries was true. So conservative Canadians were also believing that furries were allowed to use litter boxes in front of other kids in schools. Totally bought that propaganda. So, like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, it's embarrassing you lost to this person. On the other hand, it's like, yeah, there was a dedicated multi-billion-dollar machine trying to push this guy in front of everyone and endlessly crank out apologetics from him. And you either had like bot farms doing this, but then you also have a lot of just extremely malicious people, like those of like 4chan and that type of thing, that, you know, are creating memes for him and endlessly running interference when somebody wants to point out like what a terrible person he is. They want to show up and say things like, oh, but did he directly say that, you know, he's the one, you know, grabbing them by the pussy and the Hollywood Access tape? Stuff like that. So you have people still calling in to call-in shows and still trying to run apologetics for Trump. Look at that piece of shit, Pine Creek, and you can see exactly the type of apologetics that he still runs for Trump, despite everything out there, because he's going to pretend that he cannot use a single bit of inference. He can't recognize evidence whatsoever. He wants to lawyer down on every single statement ever made about Trump to be like, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. And he just parrots this to his audience that end up just eating it up without questioning it. Even though the overwhelming amount of evidence is that this guy is the rapist that he was convicted of being. And this guy is a complete moron when it comes to the economy. He's terrible. But this, we're going to watch a clip now on how do people feel about him and like the Hispanic vote.
I'll give you a baseline, and I'll just say there has been a massive backlash against the President of the United States among Latino voters, because what are we talking about here? Well, let's just take a look at Trump's net approval rating among Latinos. You know, you go back a year ago, right at the beginning of his first term, wasn't too bad, right? About 5 points underwater. A lot of Republicans would really like that. But take a look where we are today. Over a 20-point decline, now down to negative 28 points, Donald Trump's net approval rating among Latinos. A much larger drop we've seen among Latinos than we have seen among the American electorate overall.
Yeah, and you're saying, Shane said, you completely agree that there was a massive effort to support him. You just think that the Dems' choice to run not as bad as Trump was a mistake. 100%. Like that, like not only they were running the like, well, we're not as bad as Trump. They also were not pushing back strong enough against the stuff that Trump was making up. The eating the dogs, eating the cats thing. All right. Why was J.D. Vance able to go on TV and just be like, oh, you know, I mean, like, it might not be true, but, you know, yeah, we might make up some stories like that. But at the end of the day, we're expressing outrage. Why was he able to get away with saying stuff like that? He should have been called a liar, and that should have been endlessly played over and over and over again of admitting that they had made up those stories. But I think like this is indicative of something that is brewing very bad for the party.
The deportation program, though?
Yeah, okay, so what is causing this, right? There have been a lot of things in which the American people dislike Donald Trump more than they did a year ago. But among Latinos, they really... That's
what's driving all
that is a big driver of what's going on here. Trump's net approval rating among Latinos on his deportation program. Look at this. You go back a year ago, according to the CBS News YouGov poll, he was right at even, right? As many people approved as disapproved. Again, that's really good numbers for Republican among Latinos. But look at where we are now. 34 points underwater. There has been an over 30-point shift away from Donald Trump among Latinos on his deportation program. What we have seen among Latinos is a drop overall, much of which is being driven by how they are viewing his deportation program. I saw one of the founders for Latinos for Trump the other day say immigration is going to cost Republicans during the midterm elections. And when you look at numbers like this, you have to say, hey, she's coming from the numbers because the numbers agree with that.
No, it's not just that. And Anton is leaving out some. I'll let him finish and just say.
Do not like what Donald Trump is doing on his deportation program, and it is driving his overall numbers down. Look at this. I mean, you rarely ever see a 35-point decline over a year, but it is happening with Trump among Latinos on his deportation program. No is what.
All right. So the same person that he just quoted there that was saying like, oh, it's going to cost them during the midterms. She was talking about stepping down from her position and resigning because she could no longer support the administration because of their handling of deportation. This is going to cost them dearly in elections, right? This isn't me just like speculating. I can show you right now what is happening. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. So that was, losing the Latino vote. They are going to lose Latino people. And by the way, this isn't just a Well, their deportation program is like really overly like too harsh, and that's what's driving this alone. There's also the issue that, like, did y'all watch the Super Bowl at all? I didn't. I don't like sports. I mean, besides the fact that there's, like, you know, very athletic men and, you know, and women that are obviously, you know, you could watch it for other reasons than just watch them chase a stupid ball. But whenever you go to watch the Super Bowl, there's like the Super Bowl halftime show. And this is like something that's become like a cultural, like a center point of the culture war, right? Because every single year, people freak out, usually conservatives, over the halftime show or commercials that run during the Super Bowl. And this year they had Bad Bunny sing during the show. Now, if you don't know who Bad Bunny is, then you're like me. I had no idea who this person was until the conservative outrage over it. And I was like, who the hell is Bad Bunny anyway? Then they do like Latin dance music or, you know, that sort of thing. Club music. I don't particularly listen to Latin club music. I don't really listen to club music that much at all. So I still had no idea like who this was or why are they so mad. And conservatives were so angry about this, about a Latin person being able to be chosen as like to perform during the halftime show. And by the way, there's been like numerous performances from people from like all over the world doing, you know, performances during the halftime show. Like it's a big cultural thing. The United States is a giant cultural melting pot of all these cultures from like, you know, across the world. So like, it's not unusual for us to have acts where people are singing a language that's not English or whatever. But conservatives got so mad about this that they had the Charlie Kirk's TPUSA garbage host a concert with Kid Rock and other conservative musicians and this pathetic alternate halftime show, and trying to encourage people to flip the channel during the halftime show to their event in order to like hurt the ratings of the Super Bowl for putting a Latin person on the screen. And conservatives are doubling down defending this. They're bragging that, oh, we got millions of people to tune into this. It's just racism. Blatantly. Why do you need to say, well, you must switch to watching a washed up, rocker from the Midwest who literally sang about child rape in his songs. Unironically, one of the lyrics in one of Kid Rock's songs being that, you know, they call it statutory, but he calls it mandatory. Okay. And this is the person that you want us to switch over and listen to, like yet another rapist. Yeah, Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican, 100% American too. Right. But the issue is they're taking issue with the fact that he's not singing in English. That his songs are Latin songs, not English songs. Even though English is not the official language of the United States. We don't have an official language of our country. Some people speak English, some people speak Spanish, some people speak French, German, whatever. Right? There's a lot of cultures in our country. It's so weird to me for them to fixate on this whole like, oh, but they're not speaking English or whatever. And like, it's very annoying and alienating to be like, oh, well, if you're not speaking English, then, you know, you're bad or whatever, when that's literally what my ancestors were told and why we were made out to be villains and like swamp rats and that type of thing, because we didn't speak English. So that's like the justification to persecute us. It's just ridiculous. Like, based on the language that you speak, and you were called like stupid or slow if you did not speak English. It's very frustrating. Like, and you know, the attempt at destroying and eradicating culture is extremely painful for the communities going through that. And it's one of the reasons why like I sympathize a lot with what's going on to Hispanic people. It is bullshit that they are made to feel bad about their culture, or that we have the president calling Puerto Rico like a garbage island. I think I remember him calling it that at one of his like little Nazi rallies. And it's just ridiculous to say like an entire people is like garbage or something just because of the way that they speak, just because they don't speak English as a primary language. It's farcical. I like, this man is so pathetic. But let's look at some of the election costs now that are happening because of this, because this is something that I think is going to be indicative toward the midterms as the way that things are going right now.
Texas 9, because what happened in Texas 9, it didn't just swing to the left, it took a rocket ship to the left.
So we're looking at Texas, and this is deep red Texas. Texas 9 is an area that's right around Houston, and it has been conservative and red for decades. It has been like literally decades since a Democrat has won there. And let's look at what happened here.
My goodness gracious, the Texas 9 Senate District election marches. This was a district that Donald Trump won by 17 points in 2024. The Democratic candidate in the special election on Saturday, won it by 14 points. That's an over 30-point shift to the left. Any Republican, unlike Ron DeSantis, who doesn't take this seriously, they should realize that this is very perilous. They ignore this result at their own peril. Ron DeSantis is right to say, hey, special elections can be quirky, but this ain't no quirk.
Congressman Pete Sessions from Texas basically told me, he said, no Democrat should ever win in North Texas like this. Although he also said, there was an ice storm, 31 points. That's not an ice storm.
No, that ain't no ice storm. If you ignore this, you're going to ice yourself out of a majority come the midterms.
All right, when we look at these special elections, and this is something you and I talk about a lot and look at very closely in between the federal elections, what can they tell us?
Okay, so, you see this 31-point shift to the left, right? If this were just one election, that would be one thing. But it's the slew of special elections that together paint a picture, and it's a picture that Democrats should love and a picture that Republicans should be really worried about. Because what are we talking about here? Okay, the average 2025, 26 special election, Democrats are doing, get this, 12 points better. 12 points better than...
Yeah, you're saying that Tony Hinchcliffe said that during a rally for Donald Trump in Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I remember being Madison Square Garden. I just couldn't remember who had said it. October 27, 2024. Yeah, you taught that comedian calling Puerto Rico a garbage island. But everyone there at the rally was basically there for Trump. And Trump's people did not, cast aspersions on that guy or, say, oh, well, you don't endorse what he said or whatever else. It wasn't until almost 4 or 5 days later that anyone came out and they're like, oh, well, maybe we didn't mean this, because they're getting so much pushback from it. But yeah, Trump did not say that himself. That's correct. It was a comedian. But I just remember at one of Trump's rallies, this was said. But thank you for the correction. It is important to be accurate there. Yeah, it was a comedian that Trump had brought on, ended up saying that Puerto Rico was a garbage island. But when you look at the way that Trump talks about Mexico as well, and just Latin countries in general, you can see what Trump's feelings are on it, referring to all of them as, those that are crossing our border as all murderers and rapists. And I assume that some of them are good people. And then also the atrocities that we're seeing coming out from these ICE camps, which I'm not touching on it tonight because I've talked about ICE a lot in the last few streams, but there's evidence now coming out that ICE might be torturing children, young children or even babies, abusing them and neglecting them and everything else. We've seen ICE kicking puppies. These are the most evil, wretched people you can imagine. Ridiculous.
Kamala Harris did in 2024. That was a state special election that happened in Texas on Saturday. If you look at the federal special elections, this 12 points is actually north of 15 points on average. I was looking back through the history books. This looks a whole heck of a lot like what we saw during the 2017-2018 cycle, where you saw these Democrats outperforming how Hillary Clinton did in 2016. And what did it forecast? It forecast a net gain of 40 seats for Democrats. And I remember back in Pennsylvania, remember there was that Southwestern, that was a congressional special election seat, but that was one in which the Democratic candidate was able to actually win in a deeply red Republican district. And that, of course, foretold big Democratic gains.
All right. So we end up having special election in Texas where they ended up losing in Texas. Now, this isn't a video. I'm just going to touch on this real quick. Oh, yeah, they were 100% lockstep with that comedian. Oh, 100%. I just want to touch on this real quick. So the other thing I want to talk about is that Democrats flipped a seat in Louisiana. In Louisiana. Now, for those of you that don't know, Louisiana is also it's in the American South. It is the state that is adjacent to Texas on its right side. Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, that's like the South, like the South. Alabama's the heart of the South, but then you've got Mississippi to Alabama's left. Louisiana is right there than Texas. And not only did they win, but they won by 24 points. That is another swing. That is a plus 30 swing. So, I'll just look at this article real quick. Democrat Chastity Verrett Martinez wins Louisiana State House. Oh no, Martinez. State House special seat in a district that Trump won. All right. And she won by 62% of the vote, as opposed to 38% for her Republican opponent, Brad Daigle. Now, what was interesting in this election is that AIPAC ended up supporting and heavily getting behind what was the moderate Democrat in this race, because there was her, she is more on the left. There was a moderate Democrat running, and then there was the person that was from the GOP, right? And AIPAC tried to interfere in this election and dump millions of dollars into helping, I believe it was the GOP candidate. It was either the GOP candidate or it was the moderate Democrat. Either way, they wasted millions of dollars because the most progressive person on the ballot actually won. And that's how Martinez actually won this thing. And by an overwhelming majority of the vote, too. So now we're seeing in Texas, they ended up losing. In Louisiana, they ended up losing. I need you to understand this, like genuinely. With a plus 30 swing in 2 elections back to back, if that continues to be a trend, that means that there is no Republican seat in any district in this country that is safe from being flipped. That's huge. If the Republicans are not scared shitless right now, they should be. Because we will replace every single one of them. If we can. But the plus 30 that keeps showing up in these elections, even DeSantis is ringing the alarm. Like, hey, you need to watch out, because guess what? In Florida, Trump was polling like -18 in Florida. So there's going to come a day of reckoning very soon. If the numbers and things continue going how they're going, we'll have the midterms and just wash them out. Trump will be a lame duck, and then hopefully during the next presidential cycle, we will put into motion candidates to not only repair the damage that has been done as much as possible, but also to repudiate the illegal things that this administration has done, this lawless administration, prosecute them, arrest them. And they're already setting the standard now by like arresting like reporters and stuff arresting Don Lemon. I'm glad we are now setting the stage and making it acceptable to go after people that are spreading, you know, lies or whatever else, or charging reporters with the FACE Act. Like, oh, we're going to, you want to play around with that stuff. We'll see what happens when power swings back the other way. Because Republican power is not, I mean, it's not only fracturing at this point, it is straight up breaking. And he said Trump put everything on shaky ground. He wanted everyone to be loyal as possible, especially if it involved him having blackmail material and them, making it more impossible for them to refuse his hush money. Oh, well, I mean, he's been trying to bribe people, trying to buy his way out of this stuff. And like, the thing is, like, maybe Trump himself doesn't see the inside of a jail cell, but a lot of these ICE members that are absolutely breaking the law, going into people's homes without a warrant and stuff like that, a lot of these people will be arrested, or it will end more tragic for them. I saw a video like a couple of days ago where people, ICE basically came into someone's home without a warrant, and they were like, a family was yelling at them to get out because they don't have a warrant and yelling, get out, get out, get out. Eventually the ICE like tackled the husband and like tried to like pull him to the ground and then try to like drag him out of the house, but he's like, you know, fighting and everything else. And then they continued wrestling with him until, guess what? Someone in the home got a gun and walked up and pointed it in their faces and said, get the fuck out of our house. And then they slowly got up and walked out the door because they were there illegally and they were assaulting someone in their own home without a warrant. They have no legal right to do that. And I mean, it's home defense. I'm not saying that's a good thing, and I'm glad that they didn't actually shoot them. But, you know, for a few tense seconds, it's like they're staring down the barrel of a gun of a homeowner because they don't have a right to be in there without a warrant, and we do have a Second Amendment. Okay. Yeah, FDR style, except not racist. I hope that there's like an FDR style reckoning for this. So I hope that y'all have been having a decent time and things haven't been too like stressful or whatever. Even though we're about to shift gears and talk a little bit about something that is like truly awful and disgusting. So like buckle in and prepare yourselves, because I saw a video and I had never heard of this. Like, I wasn't made aware of this at all. So maybe I'm about to relay some information that y'all have not heard. And, you know, I think it goes hand in hand with the Epstein stuff. So just be prepared and steel yourselves. Because a couple of years ago, there was a report that came out that talked about incels. And I've speculated for a while, and, you know, I've dunked on people for being like incels involved in those communities. And I've had some people over time push back and say, hey, you're not being fair. These people are maligned and they're misunderstood. They're just like internet people. They're little small boys. They're not actually like harming anyone. And like a small number of them are going out and committing violence or whatever, but it's not a majority of them. And for a while I was thinking like, you know, am I actually picking on some minority group that is defenseless, whatever? It's all propaganda. Just remember, all of this shit from the right is always sea lining. They are as bad as you think that they are, often way worse. Okay. So there's an entire report that you can get if you want the report. And I can post the report 100%. This came out a few years ago. But these are some of the findings of it, okay? I just want to read off some of the stuff so that, keep in mind, I'm just going to put a trigger warning, right? So we're going to be talking a lot about misogyny, pedophilia, sexual abuse and rape, racism, anti-Semitism, anti-LGBTQ hate. If you feel like you can't deal with that right now, then this is not going to be this segment for you. And I would just, you know, find one of my other videos to watch. But I can tell you right now. So there's a group called the Center for Countering Digital Hate. So for the rest of this segment, we're going to call them the CCDH. That's who we're talking about, okay? They did a study, and they were looking at the largest incel forum online. And the CCDH's Quant Lab shows a 59% increase in mentions of mass attacks, widespread approval of sexual violence against women, okay, with 9 in 10 posters supporting pedophilia, and then the rules of the site explicitly changing in March 2022 to permit the sexualization of pubescent minors. So the Incel Forum, so it's called, receives an average of 2.6 million monthly visits with 17,000 members. Discourse is driven by 406 power users who produce 74% of all posts on the forum, spending upwards of 10 hours a day on it. In some cases, boys as young as 15 are being led down a rabbit hole of hatred and extremism. So they analyzed over 1 million posts over an 18-month period, and they found a 60% increase in the use of terms and code words relating to acts of mass violence, mentions of rape every 29 minutes. So 9 in 10, 89% of posters and relevant discussions were supportive of sexual violence against women. The forum's rules changed to permit the sexualization of pubescent minors. Analysis of discussions of pedophilia on the forum show that 53% of posters are supportive of sexual violence against children. 1 in 5 posts on the forum features misogynistic, racist, anti-Semitic, or anti-LGBTQ language, and mainstream social media platforms like YouTube and Google are enabling pathways to the incelosphere. All right. So there's mentions of Elliot Rodger and how he was, seen as like a hero to these people. But I just want to touch on this real quick. So before he died, Elliot Rodger posted a long manifesto and several videos on YouTube detailing this his hate-drenched worldview and a membership of a nascent community of incels. All right. Since then, dozens more have died at the hands of self-proclaimed incels around the world. Across the world, law enforcement and intelligence organizations are aware of the growing issue of incel threats, considering it a priority. The Secret Service National Threat Center said in March of 2022 that incels are a rising threat in the US, in the UK, and the UK Intelligence and Security Committee were warned by MI5 that incels are establishing synergistic relationships with other conspiratorial and violent movements. So let's just go through and look at some of the things in here. It says that analysis of thread titles shows that they are soaked in anger and despair. Only 5.8% of thread tags were positive. They found an overtime increase of 59% in violent rhetoric over the past year and a growing proliferation of content that encourages and excuses child sexual exploitation. In fact, in January 2022, the forum had changed its rules to support to permit the sexualization of pubescent minors. All right. It says that they are no doubt, after conducting the study, that the community of angry, belligerent, and unapologetic men are dangerous to each other with malignant social dynamics whereby they encourage each other to worse and worse extremes. There was one part in here that I wanted to touch on. Let's see. It says that they're specifically the organizers of it are looking up, setting up forums for self-harm, body image anxiety, and chronic unemployment. They're using that to form a pool of people from their market, and they seek to grow their numbers. They welcome children onto the platform, and there were self-identified minors discussing anti-Semitic conspiracies and a desire to perpetrate mass murders and even how to evade scrutiny by law enforcement being allowed to take place on the forum. It looked at other forms of hate, for example, anti-LGBTQ hate in their most recent report, and anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hate. It is dangerous. I want to highlight this portion of it because I feel like it's relevant for some reason. Like, I feel like recently there was something about extremism being talked about, but I can't remember about it. says, it is dangerous to elide being a bigot to being a violent extremist. So don't conflate those two things. To do so cheapens the seriousness with which we take violent extremism and its cost in lives. However, there should be no doubt that the widespread proliferation of malignant content and ideas online create an enabling environment for more dangerous views to fester and grow. This is accelerated by social media in particular. Their platforms often serve to amplify harmful content, which reacts to high positive and negative engagement by pushing content into more people's timelines and can lead to normalization of these ideas through frequency bias. So this, I just felt like 100% highlights why the FBI and Kash Patel are irresponsible in labeling atheists and people that support trans identities as conflating that with violent extremists. They're not just calling us bigots, but violent extremists. And if you end up watering down the language of what does it mean to be a violent extremist, to mean like, well, someone who just supports LGBTQ rights, or someone who supports like Black Lives Matter or something, if you are saying that those people are all violent extremists and like feminists that say like patriarchy is a problem, or if we are atheists that say, hey, we should not give preferential treatment to Christians within the law, or to like push the 10 Commandments on our kids at school and stuff like that, then you're also a violent extremist. You're an anti-Christian extremist. Calling us extremists or violent extremists muddies the water and obfuscates what violent extremism actually is, which is, in this case, advocating for mass murder, advocating for aggressive sexual assault against kids and women. And some of the stuff in here is just absolutely, unbelievably disgusting. So, for instance, they have a glossary of terms, and some of this stuff is just unbelievably disgusting, right? So they literally, like, I'm sure you're familiar, calling women like femoids or foids. They have code names for like Go ER, for like to go Elliot Roger by their groups. JB, which is what they tag a lot of their pro-child sexual assault posts with, stands for jailbait. And it's specifically referring to, of course, young girls under the age of consent. And they call children mini-foids or lollies, as in the character from Lolita that J.K. Rowling loved so much, are used synonymously. Like, you should be aware, if you are dealing with incels, the types of material that is being shared within these groups. Like, and you can just look through and see like how much anti-LGBTQ hatred there is, how much they're, posting and fantasizing about mass shootings there are. These are genuinely dangerous people. And I'm sorry, but when you have people on there, something like some percentage of users on here, let me, I've got I'll just pull it up. Let's see. There are some group of people on here that are essentially declaring that they themselves, like they are declaring that they are pederasts. They're just openly talking about this, not a small group of them. And I don't understand, like, when you see stuff like this, and I've heard people do apologetics for incel stuff all the time, but just know, this is the type of stuff that was on the largest incel forum online. Literally, continuously talking about like how women, especially like, are basically like meant to be SA'd and stuff like this. And there was one person on here that had a YouTube channel called Slut Hate Creep, who continuously was posting videos of like upskirting women and this type of stuff. And his channel was allowed to just stay on for a very long time. And like, you know, who knows how long, how many of those people were underage that he was posting. Right? It says that that network has been linked to dozens of suicides and at least one planned mass shooting. God, it's so disgusting. Right? Yeah. Pederasts are the ones that are actually perpetrating it. PDFs have the attraction. Yeah, that's correct. But the thing is, like, obviously, if you have that attraction, like, get therapy, go talk to someone, get help. Over a fifth of the posts in the forum feature misogynist, racist, anti-Semitic, anti-LGBTQ language, and 16% of the posts feature misogynistic slurs. Yeah, posting about rape every 29 minutes. It's ridiculous. So, researchers identified 3 users between the age of 15 and 17 that were among the forum's most active members and expressed extreme views. One of them, age 17, continuously posts about Jewish propaganda for 10 hours a day. One of them, a 15-year-old, discussed desire to commit a mass shooting. Another one, a student, discussed evading referral to the UK's anti-extremism program. It's just unbelievable how awful this stuff is. Okay. So, it says that in July of 2021, a man was charged with illegal possession of a modified AR-15 style assault rifle with a suspected bump stock attachment that allowed for rapid fire, and 1 count of attempting to commit a hate crime related to a plot to slaughter women at an unnamed Ohio university. So, once again, if you encounter people that are doing apologia, like they're running apologetics for incels, there should be like a dozen red flags that this person, if they are defending this or they tell you that they're an incel, you know the stuff that they're visiting, you know the stuff that they're viewing. I will post a link to the study in the down below in the video if you want to take a look at it yourself to see what's going on. This is from 2002. Who knows how much more radical this stuff has gotten, like since Trump has got reelected. Like, obviously it would have been festering more since then, but then you end up having, you know, since Trump gets in office, these people are going to feel way more emboldened. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, society has generally treated women like livestock, 100%. And it's like the fact that they're able to have like open, you know, like these sites are able to have their own Twitter accounts and left up and able to publish stuff to encourage people to go there to these sites. When you know what is on there. It's just unbelievable. And then people wonder why I'm like anti-incel, where I'm like, you know, don't be an incel. Don't go down this route. It's going to make you miserable and possibly make you, you know, they're going to encourage you to self-harm or harm other people. None of this stuff is good for you. And the sad thing is, a lot of times, like when you see and talk to incels, like they seem fairly normal until you start getting into their ideology. And they're just convinced that their looks are terrible, or they're never going to have a partner, and all this other stuff like that. And it's like, why wallow in all that misery and everything else? And like, I can tell you, you know, for the FBI trying to paint like LGBT people in this light, especially like trans people, a lot of like trans sites and stuff that I go on, or groups of people I talk to, it's mostly positive. Like, yeah, we're afraid of what the government is doing aimed at us. And as like an LGBT activist, like you might speak out on behalf of like women's rights and that type of thing. But for the most part, there's like a lot of solidarity and like comfort to be found like with each other and among each other. And it's like, hey, like don't get, you know, don't let this get you down. Like we can get through this. We can survive this. And then like might share like, you know, hey, here's movies I like or books that we like. Here's something that like you might connect with. And like, I think it's important to have stories that are hopeful and positive, and not encourage people to just go down this like what they would call like a red pill or a black pill route. Like, don't allow yourself to become that miserable. Why? Like, if you felt that much like anger and stuff, go get therapy, go talk to someone, like make some friends and talk about things besides your anger. Like there's so much in life that is good and worthwhile. Even like just something simple, like going for a walk in the woods or something, you know, taking a relaxing shower, treating yourself to food that you enjoy. And if you find yourself suffering from like anhedonia, so you can't enjoy anything, go talk to someone. Like you might need some medication or whatever. And like, at the end of the day, like it might sound weird to say like, well, you know, for a lot of these people, they probably just need a friend. But like genuinely, part of the thing that is radicalizing these people really is a small group of those power users that are encouraging those other people to get involved in this stuff. And I feel like, you know, this whole like pipeline thing, for some of these people, they might feel like, well, they've gone too far, or that, you know, they've already gone to the incel thing. So now they have no choice but to stop. And like, you can always walk away. You can always delete your account and get off and say like, I'm going to leave this toxic area because it's so harmful for your psyche. Like, and genuinely, if you're inundated with nothing but hatred and fear every single day, like it's easy to see how you'd become a hateful, fearful person, but that's not going to excuse the behavior either. If you're perpetuating some of this abuse and trafficking in some of this abuse, you know, in that case, like, I still think you should delete the accounts, get off of it, and go talk to someone. And yeah, like society discourages men from getting therapy 100%. And I've said for a long time that like men deserve better than this. Like the fact that these communities are even exist is sad. Like, and for the most part, I find like these people are very like hateful and angry, and they want other people to feel like they do. And that's why they're encouraging a lot of this stuff. And even if you're going to try to say like, well, maybe some of it is just edgy humor, I'm sorry. But when you read the stuff in those studies that they're posting about, there's nothing funny about it. It's not jokes, and it needs to be taken serious, because we've seen enough people come out of that community and go commit like mass shootings and stuff like that. And like, you soak someone in self-hatred and you make them hate everyone else. And it's not surprising that they become violent. Like when you consider who goes and commits like most of the violent crime, well, a lot of times it is men, but then on the other side, it's also conservatives. Most politically oriented violence is right-wing violence, because they are encouraging people to go do violent things. Right, they're crabs in a bucket that are miserable and they hate themselves. And then if you want to improve yourself or whatever, they're going to try to drag you down and tell you that there's no hope for you either. When in actuality, for a lot of these people, it's like, if you just, I don't know, like wash your butt, like go take a shower Go like work out a little bit. Go walk outside. Go meet someone. Go read some books. Watch some movies. You'll be a lot happier than being online in this cesspool endlessly talking about how much you hate women when we haven't done anything to you at all. And a lot of people talk about feeling like they are owed something or like they are owed women or whatever. No one is owed anything. Like, if I was a wretched, awful scumbag, so to the point that like no one wanted to hang out with me and I didn't have friends and I was like insufferable to talk to, so like nobody wants to talk to me, like, yeah, I would expect that I would end up by myself, alone and isolated. But at that point, it's not everyone else's fault that I'm such an insufferable person. In fact, what I found most often in my life is that by trying to be an approachable person, trying to be someone that can have conversations and relate to other people, and trying to be like mostly chill about things, in real life at least, I've ended up with plenty of friends, and I've had like plenty of partners. And it's like, if anything, I've like, people have felt bad about like what the state is doing to people like us. And then on the other hand, like when people actually listen and you pay attention to the way that women are treated and targeted in society, like think about how many women you know and how like kind and compassionate and caring and loving most women are, and like what caregivers we have been, whether that is your mom or your grandmother or your sister, like just your girlfriend, your wife, and the things that they do for you. And think about how often people are terrible. You're asking if the audio is messed up? Hold on. Girlfriend, your wife, and the things that they do for you. No, the audio sounds fine to me. I was just listening back to it. It sounds fine. I've almost been going for like 2 hours anyway. And like my equipment is still reading all fine. I'll just ask the chat if the audio is messed up for other people. Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking. But at the same time, I'm not listening to anything, so I didn't really... I couldn't tell. Oh, I hope the audio isn't bad. But in the end, that's all I was trying to get to, is that I feel like, women end up being treated and abused, like they're maligned so much by society. And I mean, from a worldwide standpoint, women are treated terribly. But most women are wonderful people. Like, they're some of the most amazing people that you'll ever meet. And like, your girlfriend or your wife should be like your partner. They should be someone that's helping you get through life. Like, it should be, ride or die type of thing. Like, in the sense of supporting each other. Don't take that literally. In the sense of like, y'all should be supporting one another. Y'all should be like that. Your partner should be like your best friend. Like, if you're a man, your wife should be your best friend. That should be someone you love to hang out with and spend time with. And like, yeah, I'm polyamorous, so like there's other people that like there's men that I know that I would enjoy like spending time with, hanging out with, and everything else, or being partners with. But I look at them, they're also my friend. Like, that's not just, it's not just some sexual exchange. When I feel like that's the way it's being framed to a lot of incels, is that there's some type of like exchange economy, like, oh, they've got to have money and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, not really. Like, they could just be a good friend of yours, or they could be somebody that you really like and vibe with, and y'all get along very well. There doesn't have to be like an exchange of money or whatever. That's such a weird way, like it's a weird calculus to put into a relationship. A lot of friendships are just like, it's a mutual beneficial relationship where it's like, yeah, like we go, I don't know, you go bowling together, or you go shoot some pool, you go watch some movies. Yeah, it's transactional. That's what I was looking for. It's weird to treat relationships transactional that way, because like, I mean, sex feels good to both people participating. At least it should. So like, obviously that's something that the pleasure is what both of y'all are getting out of that. But then there's also all the other things that you do together to hopefully love and support one another and to be friends with each other. You know, like, it's just frustrating. I hope reciprocity is not rare. That would be very sad to find out. If it's like I'm the one that is, you know, misguided here, because like most of my relationships that I've had with people, like we've been reciprocal with each other. Like there's only a few times that I've been with people that did not have that kind of reciprocation, and those relationships did not last very long. But just because some relationships don't last very long doesn't mean you're not going to find other relationships that are wonderful. It just sucks to frame it in a way that is that transactional. And that's why, like, you know, I don't know. Y'all see me play my video games on here. Like, I might turn on WoW in just a minute. I don't care. And like, I have friends on WoW that I play WoW with, and I've also met up with them in real life and hung out with some of them in real life. They're cool people. They're nice people. I like them because they share the same interests that I share, and I care about them. I care if they suffer. I care if they hurt. Like, that's what being a friend to somebody is just caring about them. And if you are like a lonely and angry person, and a lot of that loneliness or that anger is coming from being lonely, part of that is going to be like, first of all, you've got to care about yourself. If you care about yourself and you take care of yourself, then it will make it easier for you to do the same for other people. And if you care about other people and you treat them well, then hopefully those people will be reciprocal to you and actually treat you with empathy and concern as well. And it's so frustrating to feel like we have to teach people empathy, like that they should care, and that they should, you know, be cautious of other people being harmed or whatever else. Shane says you can't live on love, so it's reasonable when picking long-term partners to consider finances. That said, when people say things like the most important business decision you'll ever make is deciding who to marry, you just cringe. That's what I was saying. I'm polyamory. I can't understand that problem. I can hook up with someone that can't afford hardly anything, you know, like I could be the one to pay for the stuff for us to like go out, have a good time. We could hook up and then go our separate ways. I would still have feelings for that person. I'd still be friends with them, and I still would enjoy my time with them. But that doesn't mean that like I'm going to pay for every single thing in their life or whatever. That being said, like obviously if both of y'all have jobs and both y'all are in decent places or whatever, like it'll make things easier. But that doesn't mean that like that is required. But if you're going to marry someone, when you say you can't live on love, I mean, that depends, right? I could imagine a hypothetical where like someone loves their partner so much and they enjoy the lifestyle and all the things that they're doing with them, that is the motivation for them to get up and go work and, you know, push and get a promotion and everything else, because they want a house for themselves and stuff, while their partner, who might not work at all, you know, I mean, God, trad wife, right, is like taking care of the house and doing laundry and keeping everything cleaned and everything else. And then you end up, you know, not having to spend money on like a you know, cleaning service to come to your house, or you don't have to hire people to come do your lawn or whatever else, because you have a partner that is taking care of that stuff for you. So even if they're not going and working a 9-to-5, they're still doing other things to contribute, or they're offering you so much emotional support and that type of thing that like you can deal with the stress of that job and how competitive the environment is because that person is there for you. So like you can come home and talk to them and express your feelings and get the stress off of you, and they give you a massage or something. Like, you know, like there are things that people can do for you that aren't monetary, that are still worthwhile. And sometimes just having the people in your life is worth it. Like, who cares if they're not out earning $40K a year or something like that? obviously money makes all this stuff easier because capitalism sucks. But I feel like at the end of the day, like having a partner working and pulling in money isn't necessarily everything. And like, I don't know. I feel like that money shouldn't be a prerequisite to have empathy for other people or to cherish other people. Like, sometimes people are just in a bad spot or things have happened to them, and it's not like, I'm not going to blame them or say that they are, you know, not as worthwhile as someone who has money, because like some of the worst people that I've ever known, genuinely terrible people that were lonely, miserable, like awful human beings, were also some of the wealthiest people that I've ever known. Like, they 100% went to work and earned all this money and everything else, and they couldn't attract anybody. No one wanted to be with them because they're a terrible person. So, I don't know. That's where, that's kind of where I'm sitting at on that. And like, maybe y'all disagree. Maybe y'all, you know, like everyone has their own standards for what they would want in a partner, right? And like, that's fine. You might say like, my partner must have certain genitals or must not have certain genitals. You know, your partner might need to be like fit or might want to go out and everything else. You know, but on the other end, you know, like you might be fine with you know, just enjoying the person that your partner is. They don't have to do things in order for you to like want them with you or to cherish them or to be willing to help support them. Like regardless of whatever, like I don't, me personally, and this is just where I'm coming from, my partner doesn't have to do anything for me to want to support them. Now, obviously that means that I could only have so many partners at one time if I was trying to support everyone, and having everyone pulling in some money would obviously help everything. So that you agree with what I'm saying, but you were thinking that people need to be on the same page about finances. One partner's eating out all the time and being broke is fine, and the other one wants to save. That's going to cause some tension. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, you know, you have to negotiate all those things, right? Right. You have to build on a foundation of trust. If again, I'm polyamorous, so I know that my standards are going to be different than yours. But like, if I'm going to go have a one night stand with somebody, then it doesn't matter to me, like what their money situation is, as long as they're not going to like rob me or something. Right. Like I'm willing to help pay for everything, take them out, having a good time. And then whatever, like they can go their own way if they want to, or we can still be friends and all that stuff. Like, I'm good with that. But if they want to be like long-term partners, we've got to have like trust is like the core foundation. And like, if you're telling me like, well, what if this person wants to spend all this money? Well, yeah, you'll have to talk about that, right? Because like, the question is, why are they going out and spending money? Because I can tell you right now, there's lots of home-cooked food taste way better than going out all the time. Usually if people are going out, they're trying to like save money, or not save money, sorry. They're trying to save time by grabbing something quickly. So if you want to turn that into saving money, then like you might need to say like, hey, how about we cook meals ahead of time so you don't have to go out all the time. Hana says being poly helps pool resources depending on the structure. Yeah, that's true. Lunch ending, you have to head out. Okay. I hope you have a good day. And Morgan says, right, and love helps you cooperate and balance your finances while preventing backstabbing behavior. Well, yeah, 100%. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, like, if I ever had, you know, a partner who needed something, because I've had this happen before. If I have a partner who needs something, all they have to do is talk to us about it, and then, you know, we'll like help them out. But if they steal from us, if they don't say anything, they just go take our money or take our things, that relationship's over because I can't trust them anymore. I never want to be around them again, because, you know, how do they know if what they're taking from me is like something that I can't replace? Like something that's genuinely sentimental, as opposed to like just going and taking like a $20 bill or something like that. having enough confidence to be out there in the dating scene for one person is so intimidating, let alone poly person, you'd be dead. Well, it depends. If you're say like, you know, it's going to be like in a poly situation, everyone knows what's going on. There's consent involved. Like all the partners are aware of what's going on. You've talked with everyone. Then I kind of find it as like, you know, maybe it's because I'm demi that like a lot of my friendships or like really close friendships tend to like lean toward the romantic side just because of the way that I am. I don't know if it's like there's just something about my neurology that like if I'm very close friends with somebody, I guess there's like for a lot of people there's a boundary between like friendship and lover, and that boundary is like almost non-existent for me. If I'm very, very close friends with somebody, then like I'm usually open to like going out somewhere romantic with them and like having conversations that go that direction and then just see what happens, because that's just how like I'm structured. But for other people, I understand that they don't have that or like that confidence or whatever. But I think some of those attractive things about like in being with people is like the consent portion, right? Is for them to tell you that, yes, I would like to go out with you. Yeah, I would like to kiss you. Yes, I would like you to do X, Y, and Z, right? That's very attractive. Like, it feels great. And I know like people are like, they can fear rejection about it, but that's why you talk about it to say like, hey, like I have feelings toward you and they're not platonic. Like I have feelings toward you or whatever. And then you can talk about that and then decide what y'all want to do from there. You're talking about the confidence for one date, let alone several. I mean, yeah, but it's like, are you taking one person out, or are y'all already going as like a throuple or a group or something like that? And like, if you've ever dated any one person, then you know what it's like to date someone else. Like it's the same kind of process. Like, you know, most people enjoy romantically like the same types of things. They want to go to the same types of places. They want to watch the same types of movies or whatever. Each person is different. And like, that can be like some of the interesting things about dating other people is you're like, oh, wow, this person actually really likes bowling. Or I had one partner that liked, you know, racing and drag racing and stuff like that. And I had never been to something like that. And yet I was standing in the crowd watching people do drag motorcycle racing. That was, you know, something that I never would have experienced if I didn't have that partner. Right. So like, I also just like connecting with people, but anyway, I'm not trying to just talk about my dating life. I was only mentioning that I feel like it just depends on what you're into and the partners that you meet, the people that you meet. Like you can find people. There are people out there. Don't fall into this like abysmal, like, oh no, there's never going to be somebody for me out there. And I'm so undesirable or unlovable. I mean, like, trust me, I've seen plenty of people out there that I'm like, I have no idea like how this person is with anyone because I find them insufferable, and yet they have a wife or they have like kids or something. It's so bad that I say they have a wife because, you know, I'm talking about like specific men, you know. I'm trying to not make it so obvious about like who I'm thinking about, right? Yeah, you went to a drag show. Not that kind of a drag show. Yeah, exactly. I knew when I said it. It was like, people are going to like think that I'm talking about like a drag show. And they're like, oh, of course you're a trans person. Of course you went to a drag show. And I'm like, no. It's a drag motorcycle racing. At least I think that's what it's called. It's been like literally years since I was with him. Hold on. Drag motorcycle. Just to check. Yeah, it was called a motorcycle drag racing or drag motorcycle racing. But motorcycle drag racing is what they call it. Whatever. Like I said, it's been a very long time since I was with him. But we had a lot of fun. I had some partners that really liked like swimming and stuff like that. And, you know, I love swimming. Like the water is pretty cool. But it's been going on for about 2 hours. That's all the politics that I had. I was thinking about like doing some WoW or whatever, but I think I'm probably just going to like end the stream. I do want to say, that I ordered proofs for my novel, and I should have proofs ready like sometime mid this week. When I get the proofs, I'm going to like look them over, and then I'll probably make a video just like holding them up and advertising them and like, hey, if you would like a copy of this book, like, and then talk about like possible release dates and stuff like that. I do think I'm going to put the ebook version of it available probably this Saturday, but I'll just mention all that stuff together when I do the, book reveal for it and the cover reveal and all that stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then if people want to read the book, they can, read the ebook version if like you just want to read the Kindle version of it. But if you want the actual book, like I like, you can tell, right? I like physical books. I don't particularly like e-readers. I don't use them like at all. But if you're like me and you like the old school fashioned brick and mortar book, then I'll also probably have some information on when you'll be able to buy it. Right now, it's probably going to be through Amazon is where I'm going to start out with it. But then later on, I'll branch out to other stuff. I'm going to try to get a website put together, which will be my my author website. If you are aware, if you're not aware, my pen name is Aaron Margaux. That's what I write under. It's Margaux. And like, I mostly did that because I was trying to separate my political content from my, my writer brand. But at the same time, at this day and age, I feel like most people want to know what you think about politics. Most people want to get to know you a little bit. So I'm going to get a website set up. I've already bought the domain and everything. But I'm eventually going to get a website launched for it as well. And I mean, hopefully that goes well. I would love to be able to, better afford the surgeries that I need. I would like to be able to afford the stuff that I need in my life and to help out my partners and stuff. And I feel like I'm very excited to sell my first book. Obviously, I'm a little nervous. I would like it to be successful, but I just feel like, a lot of people aren't going to know even who I am. And so hopefully if I make a video doing some marketing for it, especially because this channel is a lot bigger than my Aaron Margaux channel is, then, people will want to do some pre-orders or check it out. So if you want a physical book, you'll have to wait a little bit longer. But if you want the ebook version, I think the pre-orders go on sale this Saturday. And then I'll just make an independent video with all the information in it, so you don't have to go digging through a live stream to try and figure it out. But it was good chatting with y'all. Hopefully you got some useful information. If it was entertaining, if you learned anything, please give the video a like. Don't forget to do that. It does help in getting the streams seen. And I will probably chop some of this up and make like a segment or two out of it, because I think some of it deserves a section, deserves its own little segment. But I hope y'all have a good night, and thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. Bye.